G'day listeners, welcome to Bar Karate, the sailing podcast. My name is Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some really cool sailors and unfortunately my two idiot mates. So let's bring in my colleagues. First up, Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, exalted one.
My investment came true.
Oh, which one?
When I won the auction, the Steve Bradbury Lycra suit.
Oh.
Never thought I'd get to use it.
Yeah, you're looking good,
today's the day.
in the tight Lycra. I love it.
Oh, how do I look?
You look good. You look good.
Yeah.
I think we all look good.
Don't forget it's Australian gold, my friend, not canary yellow.
That's right. Australian gold. Let's bring in the other bloke.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Bice. Bicey.
Oh, yeah, go. Tell me.
Is your Lycra suit...
You look as though you've got a question to ask me.
Your Lycra suit seems to be that one with the woman on the what do they call it? Where they go down the runs on the ice sleds. What do they call that?
The bobsled thing.
Bobsled.
Luge.
The bobsled. You remember the
Ones where she's pumping it down and it blows out in the arse.
Yeah, that one. That's
mine's more like Barat, the mankini.
Oh, yes. You look good in it
Can
too.
you call that a Lycra suit or just a bit of Lycra?
Well, as long as you're waxed.
Yeah, there you go. It's all about speed. It's all about speed.
I've waxed the fin. Don't worry about it.
I'll tell you what, our listeners are going, what the is going on with these blokes?
What were you going to say, Bice, before I spoke over you?
Oh, no, I was just going to mention, I'm not sure if I've mentioned it at all on the podcast, but Bar Karate Sailors Lager, due to the SA Summer of Sail, has been it's been a good summer down in SA for
definitely whip
Bar
our
Karate
butt.
Sailors Lager. And you blokes have got to start lifting your game, basically.
Yep, no question. A sophisticated audience down in South Australia, that's what I'll say.
Well, absolutely. But
you wait till we put them in red cans to resemble a West End draft, and then they'll be gone.
Can I say that I am going up to the Royal Prince Alfred Yacht Club this afternoon just for the Australia Day long weekend to stock the bar? So I have done okay there. That's all right. We're getting
well
there.
done. Fantastic. No worries. I spoke to Crackles on your behalf. In the meantime, you're obviously heading up there to sign up for the Sydney to Auckland virtual race.
Yes, my boat is being worked on as we speak. I've got the shore crew frantically putting it all together. Obviously, that starts next week. So we've given it a new paint job, and we're just doing the bottom now.
Yeah, right. I'm looking forward to this.
Didn't know I had entered, but apparently I've entered.
BP vs Stephen Brayshaw. It's going to be massive. We'll be covering it daily. Maybe we could do a little daily podcast about it.
Yeah.
Go.
Well, Bossy, you didn't get to hear the actual thing where they talked about the Mooloolaba Surf Club Cup. We've effectively created the same thing between you and Brayshaw, BP.
Well, look, the race inside a race. That's our goal from now on. Every regatta that that goes on around the world should have races inside races. I think it's great.
It is great. We're looking forward to it. Pity we're not going to see the Sydney to Auckland in real, just in virtual. But anyway, now, boys, why are we all in Lycra speed suits?
Oh, I'll tell you what, mine's smaller than I thought. Or am I bigger?
Oh, dear. All right, well, I'll tell you why.
I can tell you why.
Why?
We are about to learn from one of the masters of the game who wears a Lycra speed suit, or does he not? Carry on, Jordan.
So we noticed a few things about the old America's Cup boats. We're watching the America's Cup boats, the way they sail around the course, the way the sails move, the way they sit on the foils. And bugger me if we didn't think of ice boating. We thought of ice boating, and we're talking about ice boating. And we, being Australian morons, have zero clue. Like,
less than zero.
I remember we were in the Netherlands. You and me, Bice, were meeting with the guys from Tijan, and they were telling us about this skating race they have on the canals of Holland, in and around. Was it Amsterdam? I think it was around Amsterdam.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Correct.
And they only run it when at certain years when the conditions are dead right. They have to get the right conditions, and they race all the way around the canals. It's a major event. And they were telling us about that, and I said, we have the exact same event in Australia. We do exactly the same thing, but it's never been run because we've never got the conditions. But So we've got zero clue when it comes to the concept of ice boating. And so we reached out. We wanted to find out because this, go online. If you haven't looked at it, it is insane. And we want
I've been online. I've been online all morning.
Yeah, it's cool.
As I said, I've mastered it.
Have mastered it. So we reached out to some of our friends in the North America and just tried to find out. And we got in touch with Steve Orlebeke. For those who don't know Steve, he's the Director of Engineering at Harken. So for our friends at Ronston who are getting grumpy with us for saying the word Harken too much, sorry about that, guys. For our friends at Allen, too bad as well. We, get an ice boater on staff and we would have done it. But so he's the Director of Engineering in Harken. He's the king of ice boating. He's a Triple Crown winner, ISA champion, which is the International Skeeter Association. I think Skeeter sounds like that, something a kid does when they're 5 or 6, but it's not like that at all. The Northwest Regatta champion and world-ranked DN sailor. So some credibility there, mate. You should know what you're talking about. I think you're also pretty active in the real sailing world as well. So welcome to Bar Karate, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Excited to be here.
We're excited to have you, mate.
Was there anything else on your resume there, mate, that we can add?
I think that's enough.
No?
Jordan's not bad at his intros.
Let's add that he's crew boss for Terry Kohler's Evolution, the Santa Cruz 70.
Yeah.
You're a member of the Mega Yacht Team, which I have no idea what that's about, and you're going to have to tell us.
Yeah, you must have got that from Goggins. I've sailed quite a few mega yacht regattas, just working at Harken, and so quite a bit of exposure to the really big boats.
Doing an IRC.
Yeah, and I'm also sailing on a Pac 52 right now, and that's been a lot of fun.
Yep, Pac 52, and you are coming to Hobart next year, I believe.
Well, hopefully, first stop is supposed to be the Transpac race, but it's all up in the air yet at this point, so we're not sure.
We're pretty certain there's a Pac 52 turning up where Bicey lives within the next few weeks. Rio.
I'm pretty certain it's here right now.
Oh, it's there.
Yep, Kill's on in the water this week. This week, as people will be listening. A big orange one.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's going to be named Secret Men's Business.
It's a secret.
So anyway, there you go.
Only.
So you're right. Goggins did say that stuff, and he actually called you out because we had Sean Langman on the show last week. He called you Harken's version of Sean Langman, just into every cool boat.
Good.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
That's good. We're going to say it's good. So yeah.
Okay.
So how did you get into sailing, mate? Let's talk Steve for a bit.
Yeah. Okay. I grew up in a little town on Lake Michigan called Sheboygan, Wisconsin. And I don't know, you guys might have heard of Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
That was also Terry Kohler's hometown. And so for 30 years, it was the world headquarters of North Sails. And in our little yacht club, got to know Terry. And my parents were members of the yacht club from the day I was born. And I've been sailing all my life. And that's where I got started. And been doing most of my sailing on the Great Lakes here in the Midwest.
What's the pathway as a junior on the Great Lakes? What boats are involved? Is it a big choice, or you're pretty much down a designated path from day one?
Well, nowadays there's a proper opti circuit and all of that around the area. When I was growing up quite a while ago, we were lucky enough to have a fleet of flying juniors that at the time were being built by Vanguard Boats, which is now Harken, right? Mm. And Terry Kohler bought a fleet of 5 flying juniors and donated them to the local Sea Scout organization, which when I got old enough, I became a member of. And really that's when I got started. And then a little later on, I got into racing in the Lightning class. Lightning class back then was really strong in the Midwest, and it still is, and it's still a popular class in the U.S.
And what were those boats, boys, that Bill mentioned? And they have like the Harken Cup every year that they invite a few celebs in.
The Scouts.
The Scouts.
E Scout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they feature in your? Yeah.
in Wisconsin, there's the kind of the offshore scene on the Great Lakes on Lake Michigan, because Lake Michigan is 300 miles long and 60 miles wide. It's big. But then there's a whole inland small lake scene, the scow scene, which I never really got involved with when I was growing up, because we didn't have any scows on Lake Michigan. So the E Scow is one of the big classes in the Inland Lake Association.
I love that you refer to the offshore sailing on Lake Michigan.
I've got to tell you, boys, I've done a bit of sailing on Lake Michigan, and it's not it is lake sailing, as in sailing with fresh water, which is a welcome surprise. But as far as getting rough, she can get rough, mate.
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about that. All those systems coming across the US, hitting that where the big massive water is, it does a lot of different things to the weather. So
yeah, and
not to be underestimated.
All summer long, we get powerful thunderstorms rolling through here. So, if you're doing a Chicago Mac race, it's inevitable you're going to have to go through one of those, and it can get pretty nasty.
Look forward to hull number 2 of the Fire X2s going to the Great Lakes.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Good.
Nice.
Wasn't the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald on one of those lakes? That Gordon Lightfoot song?
Lake Superior, yeah.
Okay. Because I think I did a Worlds on Lake Ontario over in Canada somewhere, in Kingston, I think. So
Probably Kingston, yeah.
yeah, so it's cool. And does that lake, let's get to the serious question right in front of you, does that lake freeze over, Steve? Is that what happens?
Occasionally, Lake Michigan freezes over, but pretty consistently, the smaller bays, like the Bay of Green Bay, which is still a large body of water, freeze over, and we'll ice boat on, the smaller bays. And actually, I've ice boated on all 5 of the Great Lakes.
It's
That's what I was going to ask. It like in a full-on freeze over. Have you done the run across from one side to the other?
No, that's not
offshore.
Have you gone offshore?
No.
Yeah, that's a cool.
So, okay, so you've grown up, you've gone just the normal standard pathway for where you're living, and then how does that translate into ice boating?
Yeah, I got started in ice boating. I didn't get started in it until I was a little bit older, around 30 years old, and I was working at Harken. And a few of us got interested at the same time. And obviously Peter Harken has ice boated for a long time, and his brother Olaf also did. So it was kind of a natural place to get into it and get hooked on it. But it really took a few, there were two other buddies and myself, 3 of us working here that really got interested and started to build DNs together and work together at it, travel together, and just have a lot of fun.
And just for the listener, what is exactly the DN?
I've got it.
Class of
I've
ice
got
boat?
it. It's a coffin. You buy a coffin
It is.
and
you put skegs on it.
you get a couple of skates, stick them on, and then, I don't know, you put up you get a really wobbly mast.
Yeah. It looks
absolutely
like,
no lure detention.
Looks like a crucifix you lie down in and go ripping across the ice. Now the DN is I'll call it a one design class, but in some it's like a box rule, because there's mins and maxes on all the dimensions for all the components. So there's room to play around with the design a little bit. But it's the largest ice boat class in the world. And it's also one of the smallest ice boats. About 8.5 meters long. And all up, they weigh about 125 pounds. So what is it, 75, 80 kilos, something like that?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Hugely popular in North America and also Northern Europe. Countries like Poland, Sweden, Estonia, Finland, Germany. Really popular in Europe.
And what are the parameters as such? Like, how big are we talking? Like rig height and all that sort of thing.
I have to speak in feet. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
The mast is 16 feet long. The fuselage is 13 feet long. And there's a cross plank in the back of the boat that provides stability. That's 8 feet long. And the sail area is 60 square feet.
Okay. The first question, I just sent a photo to the boys so they can see. What's the story with the masts?
Yeah, the really bendy masts, right?
Yeah.
In the DN, and you see that to some degree in all the ice boat classes, but it's really been taken to the extreme in
Oh, Jesus. Sorry, boys.
Haven't you seen it? Haven't you seen them? Spicy.
No, I've seen them zipping around that, but not like on that angle.
Yeah, it's insane. I've been watching it all morning.
And for our listeners, I'll put that photo up for people when we publish. So anyway, Go on. Keep going, Steve.
All right. So generally the concept there is when you start an ice boat race, the boat is parked on the starting line and you're standing outside of it. It's a running push start. So when you're starting, you need a lot of power in the sail, a lot of low end power to get the thing accelerating.
Yep.
Mast is straight at that point, and there's a lot of luff curve built into the sail. But then to hit your top end speed and minimize the drag, you want to flatten the thing out, right? Because there's on not really clean ice, there's not a lot of resistance on the runners. There's not a lot of drag on the ice. So you can get away with a super flat sail. So that's what it's all about. It's a really dynamic rig that gets you off the line with a lot of power. And then as you accelerate, and trim in, the mast is bending and pulling the shape out of the sail. That's as simple as it is.
It looks amazing.
Does that bend come in just purely when you trim the sail? It actually, the sail forces the mast to bend like that, or have you got any controls?
The sheet tension, that's it.
Wow.
And what's the construction of the rig? What is it? Fiberglass or a bit of spruce?
No, they're all composite. Some are carbon and glass combination. Some are all carbon.
And am I correct in saying that they're rotating?
Yes.
So little wing foils, and you rotate them towards the wind. And that assists you with it all as well.
Exactly right.
Man, it's crazy to look at.
I just love it. I think, just before you go on, John, I think I actually love it enough for me to go and try it. But then I searched ice boat crashes. You see, I didn't skateboard for a reason, and it's called Earth or something hard.
Gravity.
That's why I took up windsurfing and surfing and sailing. But I did that. But in saying that, it's fascinating.
Well, I want to ask a question. What's the most important thing? Is it the rig? Is it the push start, or is it the skates? I don't know. Do you call them skates? What do you call the things?
We usually call them runners.
Runners.
Skates work too. Yeah, runners.
Okay. What's the most important element to the success in the boat speed? Is it?
Oh, it's all important, obviously, but I mean, you got to get your engine right. The way your mast and sail are working together in that dynamic rig, if it's not set up right, you're not going to go fast.
That's interesting. It's interesting. I just imagine that I'm certain you guys have got more than one set of runners per boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, like, with all the different sort of conditions, I'm assuming you spend half your time polishing your runners.
Yeah, it's a lot of ice boating is working on the equipment and getting everything prepared. But you bring up a good point. The big difference between, we say, softwater sailing and ice boating is the surface that you're sailing on. The water is the water, but the ice is changing all the time, even throughout a day. As the temperature changes, the ice is changing. Right. So, in the DN class, we have a lot of runner choices, and I'll travel to a regatta with like 8 different sets of runners for different ice conditions, different temperatures. So hard ice, soft ice, snow on the ice, bumpy ice, smooth ice.
Oh, it's,
Wow.
it's insane. I was looking this morning, and the commentary was talking about you have higher skates for snowier conditions, and obviously sharper lower ones for perfect conditions. I guess that you'd have that pretty well data correlated now.
Right. Yeah. And it takes a long time to get that all figured out.
Okay. How do you? Obviously, the conditions on the ice change in different scenarios, different areas. But as for reading the wind and everything, what is there? The odd windsock just set up around the course, or you just got to work by feel?
It's kind of by feel. And generally, in an ice boat, you try in a race. You're trying to minimize the amount of tacks and jibes. It's not like you're tacking on shifts up the beat, and you're going so fast, that all the races are windward lured, and the standard race in a DN is 3 laps. We try and get a mile in between the marks, so it's a 6-mile race. We'll do that in 10 or 12 minutes easily. So if the wind is oscillating, it doesn't have much chance to make a big change. So when you make a couple races or a couple laps around the course, you can figure out pretty quickly what the wind is doing.
But can you see it in any way, like we do on the water? Is there any signs, or you just?
Usually, no. I mean, sometimes if there's
a little bit of drift or
snow on the ice, it's blowing across, and you can kind of see it.
But obviously, because of the way the ice is, I mean, your wind conditions. Is there a top out? I mean, do you say we can't go out in 30 knots or 25 knots? Or
yeah. And in most of the classes, it's around 25 knots.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can just imagine the speeds you.
And what speeds are you producing?
In the little DN, we'll go 70 miles an hour in that thing.
More than 100.
I sail also the Skeeter that you mentioned, Jordan.
Yeah.
Then we can get into that too, but that thing will go over 100 miles an hour.
Oh, sorry. We'll have to put an explicit on this episode, but fuck it, this is great. So 100 mile an hour for the metric minded, 160 k's an hour. That's pace on. Certainly, the Land Rover Defender doesn't get anywhere near that.
No.
But on the ice, and your ass is literally a couple of inches off the ice.
That's a good point.
And it must feel extremely quick. Not to mention,
does, yeah. It actually feels faster in the little DN than it does in the bigger boat.
That's a common theme with, things like go-karting too. Like go-karts feel faster than the bigger cars. But the other thing I noticed, and I was watching the tacking and jibing, that's impressive. The way that the boom sort of sits on your shoulder, and your your head is sitting just there. You sort of have to. I'm trying to get my head around it. As you do the jibe and tack, do you have to actually put the boom up over your head and onto the other shoulder, or is it just goes up when you ease the sheet? Or
it goes up when you ease the sheet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So you're kind of sliding forward and easing just enough to get your head under the boom.
It's phenomenal. Yeah.
It is phenomenal. It is.
And as far as controlling it, obviously you've got that sheet tension, and I assume there's some other just standard Cunningham's outhauls and what have you, or is that nothing? Just straight out.
You got a main sheet and a tiller. That's it.
Wow. And the tiller is controlled how?
The tiller, there's a steering post that goes through the hull, and then a linkage to the front runner.
Okay. Yeah.
But how do you steer that runner? With your feet or with your hands?
With your hands. Okay. In the DN, you steer with your hands.
Yeah. It's kind of like a blow cart. It's the closest we can get to experience, where you got the main sheet coming from the front, and you got a little handle from the front.
Yeah.
Wow, but going so fast. It's super cool.
Sorry for the silly questions. Yeah, but I'm looking at your photo here again.
Yeah.
Are you actually dressed in lycra? I mean,
do you get?
I was gonna.
Or are we out of
I
place
was-
right now?
I was going to mention you guys. You made a mistake. Lycra is too chafing. We learned that a long time ago.
Oh,
Well,
no
that
wonder.
that was going to lead to my next question. How's the shrinkage factor? You have to get fully covered up, right? Doing speeds like that in those temperatures.
All I'll say is it's really cold.
So obviously you're saying that we don't look the part right now. We're obviously going to have to shed our lycra off because it's not what we wear.
BP,
what do you wear?
hang on.
You got to go spandex, guys. Come on.
Spandex.
Oh,
BP, how come it's warm where you are? How come you're suffering shrinkage?
I'm not suffering shrinkage. I'm suffering bloatage. I don't fit into my suit anymore.
So the lycra, you get too much friction. So you do actually strip down to sort of aerodynamic stuff. I'm guessing you don't have to wear life jackets.
No, but absolutely aerodynamics is critical.
So do you have there must be a fairly full-on suit. It's like I've got a thermal layer, I'm assuming, and then you have the suit over the top of that.
I have several warm layers that I layer up, and then a pretty thin suit that goes over the top.
Yeah, right. That's it. Yeah. Mm.
Wow.
And protection, essentially helmet, goggles, any body armor as such?
No,
No.
just helmet and goggles, and usually a full face covering as well.
Yeah,
So
sure.
you're all covered up.
As Boise just said, you have to excuse these questions, but it's something
it's
we've never experienced it, and I don't think we've ever seen. We've never seen it. So,
Right.
Let's look at the good days. 5-10 knots, sunny, perfect ice, and you're out there and you're having a blast. Then you've got the other days, the 25 snow-blown days, 25 knots. It's freezing cold. It's a little bit hard conditions. How does that how do you handle that? I mean, you just get out there and just do it, and it's still enjoyable, or it does get to a point where it's like, this is hard.
No, I enjoy it no matter what it's like.
There you go.
And one thing that keeps me coming back to ice boating is I get excited about it every time I do it. You know, it doesn't get boring. It's an adventure every time you go on the ice.
Can imagine.
All right. Well, let's talk about. We've talked about the DN a bit. What about this Skeeter E Skeeter thing? That looks pretty freaking cool. It looks like a world speed record machine with a sail stuck on the top of it.
Yeah, the E Skeeter class. It's basically almost an unlimited class, and you can build anything you want as long as the mast is no taller than 28 feet. And the sail area is no greater than 75 square feet. That's it. That's the only limitations. So it's evolved greatly over the years and decades.
It does look a lot like a speed record machine. Like almost a rocket stuck on its side. And
Right.
do you have to sort of run to start those as well?
Yeah, same deal. It's a running push start.
And because there's a hatch cover that comes over the top. Like, are you strapped in any way if there's a crash?
No.
Jeez.
No.
There was footage of one, and the guy just got launched.
Really?
I'll talk about that in a second. But hey, what with the running start? What's the rule with that?
Don't let go.
Well, that's one, but obviously you got someone counting steps, or you got a line distance, or what have you got?
No, there's no limitation to how far you can run. You have to have the boat on a close hauled angle. You can't just push it straight upwind, if there's no wind, and go to the mark. You have to be
the whole way around the track.
Sailing angle.
Yeah, right.
But in that bigger boat, it's more like you run until the thing is about to leave you behind, and then you get in before it runs you over.
It's a surreal looking thing to be involved in. So, like, how much do these boats, and maybe what are other classes and sort of costs of being involved?
Yeah, the DN class, you can get into a used DN and be competitive for $5,000.
Right. That's the next Barcarati challenge, boys. Right.
I'm into it.
I mean, we've been so good on all our other challenges.
Well, at least we've got excuses this one. We've got to wait for ice.
We've got to wait for ice.
Yeah.
I'm heading up to Lake Eyre later in the year. I'll check it out.
We could do salt yachting.
Yeah, keep going, my friend. Sorry.
Yeah, and then there's several other classes in Wisconsin here. There's a little next size up boat is called the Knight. And you can find used boats from $5,000 to $10,000. And then there's a Renegade that's an older design, but still a popular class. And again, people aren't building those boats anymore. You find used ones, and you can find good deals. And if you're willing to do some work, it can be pretty inexpensive. You get up to the Skeeter class, and all those Skeeters are home built.
Okay.
No one's out there like trying to build them commercially. If they did, they'd be ungodly expensive.
Right. So,
what is the majority of materials we're talking here? People are starting to, obviously carbon fiber would be there, or is it?
Yeah, still a lot of wood.
Yep.
Because wood is easy to build within your garage, and
Yeah,
we
correct.
use Sitka spruce, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but it grows on the west coast of North America, the Pacific Northwest. It's extremely light and strong. So even that Skeeter, even the Skeeter hulls, they're basically, the frames are built out of Sitka spruce, but then they're overwrapped with carbon.
Hey, gents, I just want to mention one thing here. It's like the ultimate boat, the ultimate sailing experience. We've banged on about finding a boat that can be built in your backyard, using whether it be plywood or any sort of timber. And what are the things about sailing that you enjoy and don't enjoy? You enjoy going fast, don't enjoy getting wet.
Yeah,
Mate, it's the ultimate.
This is the one.
I don't mind getting wet. It's the cold that might be the issue, I reckon. It could be the cold could be a major.
I'll have a bit of a problem with the visuals of you, Jordan, out there.
Yeah,
giving the crack in your lycra.
That's
or your
right.
spandex.
Or trying to find a helmet that fits.
I was waiting for that one. I've got a question. So obviously, ice is undulating. The surface is quite irregular, correct? Or can you get?
It can be. No, on the smaller lakes that we sail on, and you can't just go out on any frozen lake and set up a sail. There's people all over the place. They're scouting all the time, looking for the perfect sheet of ice. And in a way, you're right. There is no such thing as a perfect sheet of ice. There's usually going to be some kind of texture on it, some kind of bumps on it, cracks running across it. So an important thing is that you have to really scout the ice carefully before you open these things up. And
And what's involved there? Just one of the officials kind of goes out, finds exactly where to go. Word goes out. How do they actually? Is it a visual thing? I'm guessing one of the biggest risks are the ice cracking or opening up.
Yeah, generally that's not an issue on it can be an issue on a really big body of water if it's windy.
Sure.
But the ice is usually pretty locked in on the smaller lakes, and it's not changing that much. Once you identify a sheet that's safe, it's usually pretty good to go.
So I noticed on the boats there's little suspension-y type of setups on your skates. Is that correct? Like little, there is an element of give in them or not?
Well, on all the boats you see a cross plank in the back, right?
Yep.
And that whole thing, that plank is flexible, so that's kind of a suspension for the back of the boat, and that also helps. It's working along with that bendy rig in the DN.
Yeah.
And if you're in puffy conditions and you get the thing set up right,
Flexes.
Exactly, and the leach of the sail opens up automatically when the puff comes on, and when it's right, it's awesome to sail.
Which leads to the point of we mentioned sort of as carbon fiber coming, you probably don't. You probably want the thing to bend and move around, like you just said. Then stiffness is not a priority.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's right.
Wow. So if you were trying to get into the class, you'd probably start with the DN. Is that what you're saying? Or?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to start. I mean, affordable. You can throw them on top of your car, easy to set up. And there's a lot, if you want to race, that's where the most competitors are.
Yeah. It doesn't look super comfortable looking at this photo. Like, are they comfortable, or are you just 12 minutes of sort of trying to do a half sit-up?
Exactly. It's a workout.
Okay.
Should take a little pillow, just put behind your head.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Little comfy bear pillow.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, just for the listener, if we seemed a little distracted before, Jordan just ran out to grab his custom-made helmet that he needed to get made to fit on his head, and he put it on. He couldn't get it off afterwards, though.
And custom-made goggles.
You do not know how true that is. There's an ongoing joke, Steve. I'm about 6'3" in your language, but in reality, I'm a 5'10" guy with a 7'2" guy's head. If you saw me next to a normal person, you go, I get it. Yeah.
Andre the Giant rang and said, he wants his head back.
Anyway, let's get to the really interesting thing. Let's talk about some of the crashes. Do you have crossings? The first thing I want to know is, how do crossings go? Like, if somebody's, because obviously you don't tack much, you're saying, so you wouldn't have many opportunities. But if BP was on the course, where starboard is optional,
imagine this one. Stop it.
What happens? How does it go? Like, you must have some majors.
There has been, yeah, and you never want that to happen, because obviously it goes bad. You just have to have your head on a swivel, and you're making snap decisions the whole time you're going around the race course. And probably the most dangerous point is right before the first weather mark, as the fleet comes together.
Engaging, yep.
Yeah, let me backtrack a little bit. When you start a DN race, everybody's lined up on a starting line that's actually laid out on the ice, and there's positions marked. And half the boats, the center line's marked, and half the boats are on the port side of the line on starboard, starting on starboard tack.
Mm-hmm.
Other half are on the right side of the line on port tack. So they go off on opposite tacks, half and half.
Wow.
Well, when those guys come across on port into the train of starboard tackers, that's when it can get hairy.
How easy to bear away? I mean, I do see the bear away mark, and I do see the thing sometimes lift up onto two skates, and you've got that precarious position of the boat up on its up on two skates. That must happen when you're trying to bear away to miss a port starboard as well.
It can, yeah. You got to ease the sheet out a little bit and keep it under control. And of course, it wants to accelerate a lot as soon as you bear away. So, being able to judge those crossings is really critical.
I mean, I don't think we want to go into what could happen when you go wrong, but you could just imagine what could happen when you go wrong. But what acceleration? So upwind speed. Let's talk about upwind speed. Is 40 knots or 35 knots, and then bear away speed.
Well, let's talk about the DN first. The DN, say there's a medium breeze. Yeah, you're probably going upwind 30, 35 miles an hour.
Yeah.
40 max.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go around the weather mark, it'll accelerate quickly up to 60 miles an hour.
Wow.
To go downwind. And you're sheeted all the way in all the time.
Yeah. Sure. Which is what Jordan was saying earlier about the the appearance are just phenomenal.
Yeah. So what about mark roundings? What's like? How do you have the same rules? Like, do you have the same rules as normal sailing, or are there different rules?
There's fewer rules, and most of them are the same. Mark roundings. If you're overtaking anybody at all, you have no rights.
Okay.
The slower guy ahead of you has rights, but inside boat has the right of way, so that's the same. Port starboard's the same.
So what about your buoy room? When does that kick in? How far out? Is it 30 boat
300 lengths?
What you're saying, it's not 3 boat lengths.
28 seconds away?
No, there's none of that. It's you're just going too fast. There's no way to jump.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Right. So if someone overlaps you at the last second, do you have to give them room? That's what I'm trying to work out. Like, how do you, when you go around a mark, or do you just give it a bit of space just Because
you have to be conservative. You just have to be.
Because my imagination is if someone comes in tight on that mark and tries to force for boy room, then they're going to slide off a little bit as they come around and try and say tighten up. It's not like you just do a quick hard turn. You don't do hard turns on these things. I'm assuming it's sort of a nice radius turn.
If somebody tacks in there at the last second and tries to pinch it in, if you're coming down the starboard ley line, you're going 30 miles an hour faster than they are, and you just try not to hit them, and you get up and around them, and you're gone.
All right. So it's a common theme in sailing in general that even if it's a twilight, people say, we're just going to go out and have a bit of fun. But then the gun goes and
beat peace on the course.
It's fever. It's get to that top mark. It's win that race no matter what. Now, I'm going to say that it's quite similar with you guys, but there must be some gentleman rules in place because you're talking about phenomenal speeds with no protection. There must be an unwritten law, if you like, that is in place.
Yeah, I'd say there is, but I will also say you got to watch out for those Polish guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there a group that push the limit? Yep.
Oh yeah.
Well,
okay,
a bunch of them listen to this show, so just rip into them, mate. They
give them. We've got Team Poland. Oh, we love them.
Right. No, there's a lot of good sailors in Poland.
He's walking it back.
Big customers for Harken,
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, but you've got that sort of, I guess, understanding between you all that this is not your regular sport, but you're still pushing the limits. You're still trying to get it in there. You're still trying to win. This is my point.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
And what's been the biggest cheating scandal in ice boat history, Steve?
Oh, great question.
Biggest cheating scandal in ice boat history? Boy, oh boy. I don't know. That's a tough one.
Self-sharpening skates.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything, in the big continental DN regattas, all the equipment is getting checked pretty regularly of the guys that are going fast. So it's pretty tough to get away with anything.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's good.
Oh, well, I was looking for a bit of a scandal. We didn't find one.
It's a good question, that, Boss. So the way your brain thinks is quite good. That was a good one. I think we're sort of pretty impressed. I think there is one thing that we haven't touched on is the difficulty of actually going ice boating. It's not like conditions are there every day like sailing. So is that the case? Is it difficult to get out on the water, on the ice?
That's the toughest part about the sport. And if you don't live in a place like I do, where it's all around, and you can just get up and go.
So it could be quite expensive for us to get the perfect conditions for us to hop on a plane and come over and.
Right, it's tough to plan for, but I will say that in the DN class for the World Championship, the North Americans or the Europeans, that's scheduled in advance, and there's a whole week set aside to get the regatta in. The problem is you don't know where it's going to be. And actually, we're having a U.S. Nationals next week.
Right.
Somewhere in the U.S.
Yeah, we have the whole week set aside, and we'll find out hopefully on Friday where it's going to be.
Right.
So that's this week.
Yeah, this next week.
Wow. Let's cover that, boys. Can we get hold of? Is there footage? Is there how do we follow that?
Yeah, I can send you some links to.
Awesome.
Yeah, let's do that.
Updated results and videos and things.
So just to clarify, when they decide to hold the Nationals, they will actually tell you where it is eventually. You don't just hope you stumble over it.
Yeah, hopefully. No, there's a pretty good network of people looking for ice.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's all about that condition. They're trying to find the right ice, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've just got this vision in my head of everyone at a hotel with their ice boat on the roof, and they're all sitting around waiting, and then someone said it's 100 k's up the road, and everyone just jumps in their car and flies off, and it's all just a motorcade to this lake.
Yeah.
No, a year ago, our North American championships wound up in Montana, which for me, I live kind of in the middle of the country, is 1,000 miles.
Wow.
And there were a few guys that came from the East Coast, so for them it was 2,000 miles.
Wow.
Now, Steve, one of the great aspects of yachting in general is going back to the bar afterwards, going back to the yacht club, having a few with your mates. Is there any such thing as an ice boat club, or what do you do when it's announced where the competition's taking place? You just adopt the local bar?
Yeah, exactly. There are a couple of actually ice boat clubs in Wisconsin. Pretty cool to visit, but it's pretty rare that they have conditions out in front of those places.
Yeah.
So
right.
yeah, we usually look for a hotel with a bar in it. It's more convenient.
Yeah.
So in sailing, we have wet bars where you can come straight off the water in your wetsuit and you can get a beer and stand there in the bar. You obviously don't rock up in a bar in your spandex.
Or not. You been in Wisconsin?
Sometimes you do. Of course, you got a few beers in the back of your car for once
you got to keep the heater on to make sure they're drinkable.
Well, you put them in the cooler, but you don't put any ice in there. You keep them in there so they don't freeze. They're insulated. They don't freeze.
It's just foreign to us because I could just imagine you're finishing a race and you're all standing around there and your boat's ahead to wind and you crack open a beer and you stand around and talk about the race. I mean, in those conditions, and must be cool.
Boys, can you imagine, right? Like, when we put the esky down, what you call a cooler with the esky, often a game of cricket breaks out, because you got the esky and the stumps, right? Can you imagine a game of cricket on ice?
No.
No diving catches. How far would you hit that ball? It's ridiculous. So anyway, it's what about the race officer and like officials and all that? Do they jump in the car and drive the 1,000 miles to bring you your marks and set the course and stuff? Geez, they're good. Gee, they're good, and that's pretty serious commitment.
The ultimate is when the ice is thick enough, you can drive your vehicle right onto the ice and just set up right next to it.
This leads to a really good question.
It does.
I've got no idea about ice. There's obviously a thickness. I mean, where is it actually deemed thicker? Deemed acceptable to race?
Yeah, for the DNs, 3 to 4 inches.
How do you know?
Jeez, that doesn't seem much.
Yeah, it doesn't, does it?
You walk out there and drill a hole, check it.
I think I saw a video and it looked like
take the old Makita out, just with a long series drill bit, or not. Exactly. You just put a little bit of tape on it, and if you make it through before the tape, back her up, boys.
Or just walk up to the corner there where the little bloke's doing a bit of fishing. So that looks thick enough for us to do it.
Right.
But does the ice, if it's say 3 inches or 4 inches deep in one spot, do you know that it's going to be probably the same depth another mile up the road, which is what you're sort of saying the length of your course is? So do you have to check all the way across the course?
Yeah, you got to check the whole thing.
Okay. And so who does that job? Because that could be fraught with danger.
Not me.
That's one hell of an insurance policy right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess the next question is, has it ever happened? Has it ever cracked and gone and lost boats? Or to an extent broken?
I've personally never gone through the ice.
Mm-hmm.
Olaf Harken was notorious for going out sailing by himself on Pewaukee Lake and always finding the holes.
Well, we laugh. It's not really laughing matter, is it? I mean, it's
no, it's not.
We've got our our hypothermia situation with normal boating. It brings a whole new view on it.
Right.
We just can't even comprehend. Like, I don't know how far away from the level of understanding, whether you really get that we have no clue, because like we're in Australia where I live, in winter, we wear a slightly thicker T-shirt. That's our winter. Do you know what I mean? Like it's shorts year round. No one wears shoes, and it's just thick T-shirts. I'm in my summer T-shirts at the moment, the ones you can see through, sort of thing. And And the concept that the water can turn into ice only works when it comes to drinks.
Sure. Right.
Well, it's reciprocated. I was actually just speaking to Scott this morning, who has bought the X2, and he said to me, do you guys sail all year down there?
Why would you not?
And I've gone, are you what? But anyway, there you go.
Yeah,
So it is reciprocated.
All right, let's transition a bit, because there's a lot of translatable skills that we're noticing from this. And there was a conversation there about a week and a half ago from Bob on Facebook.
Oh, Bob, yep.
And I can't remember his last name, but Bob said...
No, can I take over here, Jordan?
Yeah, go for it.
So there was a comment on Facebook saying how similar the AC boats are to ice boating. And I wonder if they should start talking to some of the ice boat pilots or skippers for the AC boats. And I might be a little bit wrong here, Jordan, but just for hilarity value, let me finish. And Jordan said, well, when they got out to push the boat, they all drowned. And then it was like, well, what was his name? Well, of course, his name was Bob. So he was just bobbing around in the water.
So, yeah, we
See
lost...
you see what I've got to put up with?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
So
thanks, mate.
with the, do you look, obviously being a fan of sailing, you're watching every element of this. Do you watch the America's Cup? Like, do you see similarities in the way these boats behave?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. First of all, the apparent win is obvious because of the speed. And, sometimes I could see where people trying to watch the America's Cup boats sometimes have a difficult time knowing what tack or jibe they're on. So when it gets light, whether they're trying to go upwind or downwind.
Yeah.
And that's all similar to ice boating, because
yeah.
you reach around trying to get up to speed, and they're trying to get on the foils and before you can go up or down.
So it correlates strongly.
How easy is it to hold those apparents? I mean, is it something that once it's there, it's easy, or are you permanently on the edge to make sure you don't lose it? Obviously, that's a sign between a world-class sailor and a club sailor.
Yeah. You're constantly, once you get the boat up to speed, you're trying to find the right angle, but you're looking at the boats around you too. And if somebody's sailing a little lower and a lot faster, then you immediately try and match them and get the bow down upwind and get the again.
Okay, so let's talk about what makes a world-class ice yachtsman, and you being one of them. What separates you from the average bloke?
It doesn't hurt if you can run fast, because at the start of the race, if you're trying to outrun the guys around you, especially the guys to leeward of you. And if you can do that, you can get in the boat. And the critical thing is, when you're trying to start an ice boat, is you got to bear off. You got to put the thing down on a close reach to get it to accelerate as fast as you can. And you don't point up until it's going to top speed.
Well,
and you monitor that? You got a GPS on board, or how's that work?
No, it's all feel and looking at the guys around you.
Oh, wow.
So you have to be fit.
Yep.
Run.
And what about shoes?
Oh, yeah.
Dunlop volleys?
Dunlop volleys.
No, we wear metal track spikes.
I was going to ask if you
really?
were wearing spikes. Yeah,
Yep.
right.
Wow.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool, isn't it?
Which is just another weapon when you're out there if you have a stack.
Yeah.
You've got skates.
I'd say another key to being a competitor in an ice boat is you have to be able to build stuff effectively, hands-on, and work with your equipment.
Yes.
It's hard for people to just jump in
Sure.
fast.
What about the sails? Like, from a sail making perspective, is there, because they change shape so much, do they have much shape cut in, or is it all luff curve, or is there much seam shape, or how do you build
No,
that?
I'd say I'm not a sailmaker, but it's mostly luff curve.
And then that just pulls out. It's like a laser sail, effectively. It's all shapes luff curve.
Right, and that's one thing I haven't mentioned is in a regatta, in the DN class, you're allowed to use 2 sails. So we have a full sail and a flat sail.
Right, but full sail is it like if you put it on a straight mast, does it look like a normal sail, like in terms of depths?
It's still flatter than a sail you guys would be used to looking at. But more like probably a moth sail, something like that.
Yep.
Has anyone tried a hard wing or anything?
Yeah, not so much in ice boats. There've been a few guys who've done it. In land sailors, you see a lot more of that out in the desert. There's been talk about that in the Skeeter class, and why don't you guys use hard wings? And I'd say there's a couple reasons. One is
cost.
Well, cost. That's probably number one. Number two is logistics to move the thing around, set it up, take it down. Even in between races, when the boat's parked, you have to just be careful that the thing doesn't take off on you.
Mm.
And the last thing I always tell everybody is, we're going fast enough. We don't need to go any faster.
I was about to say, I don't think you need to go faster. But you've got the double luff sails of the America's Cup boats now. I mean, I guess you've got a really thin aero mast anyway. I mean, we know that there's going to be disturbance because you've got a 3D going to 2D, but you're going fast enough, and it's just the percentages, the drag is almost eradicated.
Yeah, the Skeeter rig, it's essentially a 2-element wing because the mast cord fore and aft is like 300 millimeters, and then you have this high aspect sail behind it with a dozen full battens.
Mm-hmm.
But the foot length is like 2 meters.
Yeah. Are they cammed or just battens, just like a normal sail?
Just normal battens.
Mm-hmm. Does that cord depth on the mast count to sail area?
No.
Oh, interesting.
So, just in the meantime, boys, I've been on iceboat.org, buy and sell. I've come across a beauty. Ask E Skeeter, you want to beat JD Yazo or Orlebeke? In the ISA, it's simple. Just write me a check.
How much?
Insanity is in mint condition.
Oh, that is a mint ride.
Yeah.
Righto. Okay. Well, this is us.
3 sets of runners, carbon fiber stiffeners, 3 sails, race ready. Take a guess.
17,000 US.
50,000.
Oh, geez, we're
half a century.
We're a few Baccarati lager.
I must admit, it looks like an absolute weapon.
All right. Well, let's whack a deposit on that.
All right. I'll write him a check.
It's a beautiful boat. That is the package.
Yeah.
All right. Well, whack a deposit on that, Bitey, and we'll get over there. I've got to be over there if I can in October. So that leads us into the season. We're all set.
You'd have a good time, BP. Like if
we're all there. We're all going to be there.
Yeah. So that's from Daniel in New Jersey.
Awesome.
Wow. Do you like the cold, Steve?
Yeah. Growing up in it, I guess you're dumb enough to know any better.
All right. So when you get to a regatta down the Caribbean, it's completely foreign to you.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, I like winter. I don't mind winter at all.
Okay.
It's a different sort of thing when you're in the areas that it's always there. Whereas here, if we get a 9-10 degree day, it's usually humid. It's usually humid, so it's got that extra chill factor. But where you guys are, it's probably like when you go to the snow, it's drier and it's a lot more bearable.
Yeah, it gets dry. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, fellas, in the interest of keeping an eye on time, we should probably leave the exciting stuff and move on to something a little less boring. You've been keeping an eye on the Cup, Steve?
Yeah.
Over it this week. Obviously, your country's team has a bit on this coming week, but they'll be back out there soon. What's your thoughts?
Well, first of all, that was a pretty impressive crash, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there are actually some parallels to ice boating there. I think the difference is when we go around a weather mark when it's windy, the acceleration is much greater, so we don't get, caught with that apparent wind coming aft. Like I assume the apparent wind came aft, the rudder came out of the water, and they lost steerage, and that was the end of that.
Yeah, well, they were probably, exactly right, slowed down quite rapidly as they were sliding sideways, and then
and that too, yeah. But pretty exciting stuff.
I mean, when you go around the top mark, just to bring it back to your ice boat slightly, but nice work there, Bossy, because that's what we needed to do with the transition. But when we go around that top mark, do you E-sheet much at all or not?
You don't. But when you commit to make the turn, you don't stop. If you stop halfway, you're going to flip over.
I love it.
You get that suicide angle or the critical angle like you get on large cats, or that
Same
thing.
90 degrees to 110 degrees sort of thing where you've got to be super switched on. That's
still like a skiff bear away. We used to make sure we were all, into windward, and otherwise you're just not going to get away.
So
we've all done that.
Obviously with your role with Harken, you probably hear you're involved with that team. Have you heard anything that you can share with us about how they're going to get back on the water?
I haven't actually, and we've got winches and things on the boat, but we really haven't heard anything.
On that, and to get a little bit technical, no main sheet on these boats, just a traveller. Is that? And is the runner, is that a self-contained winch, or how do they work?
I honestly, I don't know the answer to that, Nick, and that different boats might have different solutions. We have provided a lot of hydraulic cylinders for a lot of the sailing functions.
Just be hydro. Yeah, copy.
Might be, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure.
And I'm not sure if this is public knowledge, but I'm sure probably not far off. I spoke to our friend Tyson Lamond, or got a message from him, but
it's about to be public knowledge.
Yeah, basically the new part of the boat is going to be ready pretty much as this goes live, as this goes to air, this podcast.
Yep.
And they should be sailing late next week. So we'll see them back on the water for next weekend.
So how did they create that part though, boss? Did you discuss that or not?
Not exactly, but I heard some between a few different sources, but a lot of the teams hucked in, especially Team New Zealand.
Fantastic.
And I believe that there is some sort of a collaboration with Team New Zealand and American Magic to build that new part. And whether that was in Team New Zealand's shop or what, I don't know exactly, but we might as well get it out there and say it's 100% true.
Yeah, okay. Because one of the rumours I heard was, the story somebody tried to tell me was that they were going to cut the other boat, that midsection out where the foil arms join in, and just try and blend that in, which was they were just going to try and split it down the guts and do it that way. And I thought, geez, that's...
No, I'm calling bullshit on that one.
Yeah, so am I. Like, especially if you've got the tooling sitting there, you could just lay up the piece to slot in. It's not that difficult to do. It'd be a lot quicker, I would think, unless there's some serious damage to the foil arm mounts, which we didn't think there was, but we don't know.
Yeah. Cool.
So who's going to win the cup, Steve?
Yeah, damn, he got me.
Who's going to win the cup? Well, we've worked a lot with Ineos, so I'll pick Ineos.
Whoa.
And this time last week, what were we saying? Well, no, the week before, what were we saying? It's amazing the turnaround, isn't it?
Right, yeah.
It's incredible. But I was having breakfast this morning and with my mate, and you look at the turnaround of Ineos, and it's well within the capabilities of any of these teams to just turn it on, right? We know that they're pushing the 0.05 percenters so hard, and if you look at the names on the boat, they've all been living in that realm for so long. So, I'm not going to write anyone off. I'm just going to keep watching because it's still fascinating.
I will say,
okay,
if you guys haven't jumped onto Facebook and looked at some of the questions people are posting on America's Cup 2021, if you haven't actually read any of those questions, you're missing out on some entertainment because there are some crazy questions being thrown out
I'm just sick of people saying this is not sailing.
No. They're way past that, BP. They're way past that. They're asking all sorts of stuff and you're just going, I'm not. I don't want to be rude to anyone, but and I won't name anything. But there's some questions there that are just insanely funny. You know, like
Go on, name one.
no, I don't want to upset anyone. But,
Back to a little bit of the tech stuff,
Yeah.
Steve. Your involvement with be it Ineos or any of the other teams, from an engineer's point of view, are you working with the hydraulic systems as well as everything else within Harken? Or
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of hydraulics on Ineos. The manual part of it, the sailing hydraulics and the pumps and, the
All right.
pedestal driven pumps and stuff. But from a technical aspect, probably the most difficult thing we had to deal with these boats was the traveler systems.
Yeah, it's pretty
Okay.
intricate, I could say.
Yeah, our tried and true proven traveler designs just weren't up to the task.
Is that strength wise or throw?
They're moving so fast,
Yeah.
back and forth constantly that all our traditional travelers have plastic roller them and riding on aluminum tracks with aluminum cars, and those things just they didn't work at all. So we had to rapidly last year go back to the drawing board and what I know 3 of the boats for sure are running titanium cars on titanium tracks with titanium rollers in between, really,
Minimalizing
precisely.
friction. Yeah.
the triple T, they call it. Yeah.
Oh, that's what they call it. We've done a bit of research on it ourselves.
Why didn't you create a monorail? Just create a big magnetic field coming out of it, and the traveller can just sit on top of that. That would have
We
worked pretty
did, but
nicely.
they didn't want to pay for that.
Well,
$38 million.
didn't bother the Sydney government. They did it here.
actually, if you've done a lot of work for Ineos, were you guys involved in any of the rebuild over Christmas? Have you got any inside goss? I know Ben's told everyone what's going on, but
I did see a really good video on this, but go on.
No, from a gear perspective, no. I don't think they really made any changes there.
And
I saw
I've got one. Oh, sorry. Go.
Go on. I was just saying before we move away from that, I saw a fantastic clip. I don't know if you guys saw it about the boom change and what they did. Did you see that?
Nah.
Okay, so before Christmas, they had quite a bendy boom that would pop through and create the shape in the bottom of the boat, in the bottom of the mainsail. They went for a straighter boom, like just a more conventional boom, and changed the outhaul system, which was a little bit of a stink that went on. But they put the 2 videos together of the 2 events, and it is dramatic, the improvement of, first of all, the response of the speed, and they did everything at the same time. So they were doing jibes of the old and new, and the timing in which everyone was coming across. They did so much work that it is impressive to watch this video. I'll try and get hold of it and send it to you. But it was really, really cool that even the timing of the lifting of the old Keeley Fawley thing out of the water, it was increased in speed, and it shows the difference. So I think they were down the wrong path with the bendy boom and came back in with this thing, and it's increased their performance dramatically.
interesting.
So my question, Steve, and I mean, this is again public knowledge, so feel free to say whatever you want. The grinder setup on Ineos being a thwart ship. So I saw an interesting comment from Ian Walker, basically saying that each grinder can grind in the forwards position, so at maximum power, so they can get as maximum flow going. Which makes complete sense compared to other boats running fore and aft and someone's winding in the backwards position. Is it a whole heap of rotary pumps set up, or it's one big rotary pump, or?
No, it's one on every pedestal, I believe.
Yeah. So, and that essentially just creates maximum flow to control all the hydraulics you got on board, which... those calculations must be pretty good.
The other thing there is because of that, because the loads aren't changing, because they are just creating flow of hydraulic fuel, they don't have to change the gearings, do they? So they are always in that forward position. Yeah, it's a good thought. Very clever.
Yeah, well done on that, by the way, for bringing that up to Ineos, Steve. You've done well.
Thanks.
Whereas 2 weeks ago it was a point of conjecture. Oh, it doesn't work doing it that way. Oh, unbelievable. I love it.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, guys, I'm sorry. I'm still in ice boat mode. I
Oh,
can't
right.
get it out of my head.
Well, go up and have a go. If you've sold one of your
go-
X2s up there, mate, like just put some runners on it and send it up. You could do.
I love America's Cup. I'm loving it. But I've also I've never really taken a close look at ice boating, and I've just done it this morning and yesterday. That's cool.
All right. Well, this is we won't publish this till Sunday night, New Zealand time. So I'll probably throw a little update on what happened with the America's Cup on the weekend. But for those two races that we've just seen, and what an amazing day of racing, wasn't it?
Oh, that was. Who would have guessed that that would have happened?
Who would have guessed? Of course, now we're moving on to the semi-final round, and as we all know, who's in first place and who's going straight through to the final. And of course, our semi-final will be American Magic in the other boat that you all know, starting on the 29th of January. We got the 29th, 30th, 31st, and then the 2nd of Feb for that one. So I can't wait for it. I cannot absolutely wait. But
I'm
amazing weekend of sailing. I was so glad we got to see it. We're recording Friday night for the Friday. Those don't know. All right. What about the Vendée? Vendée. Can we talk about the Vendée Globe? Because we are getting in. By the time we record the next time, they should be finished. I reckon this will be when we publish. There'll be less than a week to the finish. Anyone want to suggest who's going to win?
Well, I think I got my money on Charlie, but in saying that, old mate around the outside is just smoking along quite nicely.
Louis Burton.
Louis, and he, I saw the other day, Charlie done 380 miles. Louis done 470, so definitely got the hammer down. I know Charlie's got a damaged bottom foil bearing, so not sure exactly what the limitations are. And I got a bit of inside goss from Guillaume Verdier during the week on that. So it'll be interesting once they finish to see the extent of the damage to understand how that has affected both his and Tom Arruant's performance with his issues. Also,
it looks once they get through in the next day or two, they'll be predominantly onto Port Jibe, so they'll be starboard foils in the water. So that shouldn't be a problem from because both those foil damages are on their port foils. So that'll be interesting.
And I'm guessing Steve Harken's obviously got quite a vested interest in the fleet as well. Do you have any personal favourites?
Not really. I mean, we have a ton of gear on most of those boats, but just personally, it's been a fascinating race to watch. Really a great race.
Agreed.
And then the rest of it is going to be fascinating.
Absolutely.
Our mate Boris has got up into third. I must admit, I haven't looked the last couple of days.
Yep,
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Basically, there's a whole bunch of boats at the front, and the ratings that you see on the website, it's based on distance on a straight line to the finish line. So, one might be out wider and might be going at better angles or better speed, doing better VMGs. So, basically, there's a pack of 6 or so boats that are right there that could win it. As this goes to air, just from a weather perspective, I'm expecting a fairly large load to be coming off the coast, or it's actually 2 loads that should combine to come off the coast of the US. And so there should be pretty solid winds and pretty solid swell around about when this is going to air, but fairly favourable. So they'll be able to run downwind. Swell should be up around 5 metres, and they'll be able to run downwind into the finish with plenty on. The question then is, with that amount of swell, will they actually be at full noise or will they be backing off? That's the one thing that I don't know.
Well, and being so close to the finish, where do they draw the line?
Yeah.
And there will be a bit of jibing.
Imagine blowing it apart in the last 2 days.
And there will be a bit of jibing required to sit into that sort of line of pressure. So there'll be a bit of a front coming across. It's going to be exciting.
So what you're saying, Jay, is some fun to come.
Yeah, and they'll be smoking into the finish.
Watch this space, you're saying. Let's all get into it.
And we've got all the time allowances, so it could be any. I have no idea who's going to win, but it should be exciting. At the moment, though, our little mate Louis Burton is just flying. He's got the best VMG by miles, and he's 62 mile back on from Charlie. So, and then Boris, as we're recording.
Boris has got a bit of time with his redress as well. There, remember,
exciting times. All right. Well, what about the Jules Verne boys?
Yes, another high speed. Yeah, there's a bit of a theme here, isn't there?
Yeah,
today?
Offshore high speed
is what it's about. I mean, that's absolute hammer down. Last time I saw, they were a couple of 100 miles ahead, so they are in with a real shot. Let's see what happens when they get deep south. If they can carry that on. You've been keeping an eye on that at all, Steve, with the Jules Verne attempt?
Absolutely. We've got the entire hydraulic system on that thing.
Yeah.
It's a cool boat, that one. Do you look at that and just go, oh, wow?
We're definitely watching that one close. A lot of big sailing cylinders and foil lifting cylinders and things, and all the valves and pumps and.
Steve, I've got a question for you. In this situation with that type of boat, and are you permanently in touch with them? Are they, or is it something they manage in house with themselves once they've got themselves going? Or do you have input or contact with them during the time on the water?
During the time on the water, only if there's a problem.
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah, no. One of my engineers did all the design work for their system, and he knows it pretty well. So when they run into an issue, they'll definitely call him and get his input.
Yeah,
I could just imagine the phone call.
Can he speak French?
No.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Is that Wisconsin French?
Yeah.
Quebecian.
So for those who are interested, it's the Maxi Edmond de Rothschild, which is cruising around. She's 11 days, 23 hours as we record this. So when it goes to air, it's probably going to be 14 days. As we record, she's about 880 nautical miles ahead of the record. So the record is 40 days, 23 hours, 30 minutes, 30 seconds. And yeah, she's underway. So if you want to look it up, you can follow on gitana-team.com. And if you speak English, /EN, which is what I use. But yeah, very cool.
Don't you speak French? I thought you spoke French. You always try to.
Yeah. Yeah, enough to get myself slapped.
I think in their latest video, they talk about they're really going fast, but they say they could be going a lot faster, and the challenge is to find the right speed.
Well, we've always said that that the whole thing is to stay in touch with that opportunity of beating the record, which they're doing, but actually getting to the finish line is the key, and that's the exciting part of this type of racing. They're not racing anyone else except themselves, and the temptation to send it. I think Sean Langman said that last week as well. He said we could have gone faster, and we could have had a helicopter and a footage out here. We could have broken all sorts of records, but we had to try and finish. And as he said that, they broke the boat.
Broke the boat instead of a record.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So have you done any offshore stuff like that, Steve? Is that something you're interested in?
Yeah, I've done a transatlantic a long time ago, so I've been on the ocean a little bit, and I'm supposed to do the Transpac race on this Pac 52 next summer if the race happens.
Very cool. So,
what's the actual vibes on all that at the moment? Sailing in the US with the current
it's all up in the air. It's all up in the air. We're supposed to do the Cabo race in next month, but we just found out now to fly back into the U.S. you have to get a COVID test within 72 hours of flying home. So we'd be stuck
in quarantine, right?
Mexico.
You got to have the sure.
So for Australia, just so you know, Steve, just to let you know, if you want to come into Australia, you've got to do a test before you get on the plane and be all clear. Mm-hmm. Then you get tested when you get off the plane, and then you go into a hard lockdown for 2 weeks where they put you in a hotel room. You've got to pay for it. You go into a hotel room, they open the door, and you step into that door, and you don't get your key card. You cannot come out. You can't open the windows, and you're in there for 2 weeks. And that's
Right.
And that's how they monitor it. And if you want, they send food to the front door, and you pick it up. No one actually talks to you or does anything with it. Go on, BP.
Did you see the news this morning from your Queensland Premier?
No, not yet.
Dunk Island has been. They're looking at putting Dunk Island as a quarantine hotel because it is abandoned. So it's not going to be all bad.
No, that's a glamour.
Dunk Island, Steve, is in our Whitsunday group, which is
Send a few Maori cats over.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Good old
nice.
time.
It's
Nice.
Dunk Island is in our
Tropical
Whitsunday
paradise.
group, which is our Caribbean.
got wiped out by a cyclone.
They've said they're going to reopen the resort up. It's all there, and you can go and stay on Dunk Island for 2 weeks.
Fantastic. It's just off Mission Beach where there's plenty of sailing happens, plenty of dinghy sailing happens up there. It's a glamour spot. Well, there you go. We're going to get inundated. Well, so speaking
Only by yachties, because it probably hasn't. It's probably, we're trying to get the yachties in first. So make that happen.
Well, let's talk about let's roll on to that, because Sail GP have announced their season 2. That's up and about, and it starts in 90 days.
No, I was with Tom the other day actually, and he's pretty keen to get cracking. But I'm a bit disappointed in the lack of Australian event.
Well, I don't know.
Obviously, we're doing it for a reason, but
So let me tell everyone, just so you know, there's 8 legs. Starts in Bermuda, April 24th and 25th. Then to Italy, June. Then to the UK or Great Britain, depending on which islands you want to count into that. So that's in July. Then to Denmark in August. Then to France in September, Spain in October, New Zealand in January, and then the United States of America in March 22. So
that's a lot of time in a hotel on your own.
That's what I'm trying to work out. How are they going to do that? Because you can't even get into New Zealand at the moment, not unless you're a local. So they must. Let Steve, I'll just sort of explain. So Bossy and I have a project called the World Yacht Rally we're trying to work on, where we have a global cruise where people go all around the world, and we provide support for them at a much higher level than, say, the ARC. It's trying to take the experience that we provided for the race teams in the Volvo and put it into the cruising world. And we do risk management assessment all the time based on what risk we're ready to do and when we want to start the thing up, because it was due to go November last year and we canned it based on COVID. And we talk every 2 weeks and debate when we're going to pull the trigger and fire it back up. And we still think we're at least a year away before we announce. So does anyone think, I think
the biggest issue I see with the Sail GP, sure, all the regattas are there and they can go ahead, but you still need crew. And as far as a crew is concerned, you're going to go and, if you, as an Australian citizen, you're going to go to all of these regattas, and then when you come home, you quarantine. So and let's say that quarantine sticks around for at least 6 of those regattas. That's 3 months of quarantining after each regatta.
And it's not like you're going to sort of, you're going to some hotspots there.
And whether you can get a flight.
Yeah.
There's not many flights coming into Australia at the moment. It's...
Watch this space.
No, I think it is a bit of that. I think what they're doing is exactly what we did last year, along the lines of just putting it into place and seeing what happens, and obviously having the ability to pull the pin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's human nature to try and be optimistic and say, by next summer or next winter, it'll all be gone. But reality is it's going to be a while yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy times. But look, if it gets up, we're going to be mad proponents. Are you a fan of it, Steve? Sail GP?
The Sail GP? Yeah, sure. I think those boats are cool.
Yep.
I heard basically in the foyer at Harken there, and you got the big screen set up, so you're running pretty much every single regatta that's on around the world, which is just situated next to the Barcarati Sailors Lager vending machine, which is about to be installed.
That's right. We actually have a beer machine in the lobby. We could rebrand it for you guys.
That is the
Absolutely.
discussion that is
Well,
happening.
apparently the contract's already been signed, so you don't need to worry about that. It'll be there and all for you.
All right. Well, so that's cool. So we're all fans. We're keen for it to get going. I know hearing from a bunch of the skippers from the different teams all fired up, seeing lots of responses from there. So if it gets up and going and it's safe and everyone can make it happen, it's going to be great. Given all the stress that we're seeing in Australia, just for the tennis in Victoria, I don't know how the hell we're going to make it. It's going to happen, but we're behind you guys 100%. Sail GP organisers, obviously the Barkarati barge. If we can safely put it in your course and have guests there, we'll do that for you.
It's not hard shipping a 3 metre tinny around. I'll be able to chuck her in the container.
Yeah, and that's it. I got one last thing I do want to just mention, and I sort of alluded it to in our little Etchell special we did it yesterday, or midweek this week. A bloke called Ryan Finn is going to go and Ryan Finn, he's going to sail his boat from New York to San Francisco. Now, obviously, there's a lot of land between New York and San Francisco, so the way he gets there is to sail down around Cape Horn and back up to San Fran. It's a record. The record's about 80 days currently, and he's setting off as we record this right now in a proa.
A proa?
In a proa to break the record.
Steve's look of disgust is just just jokes.
Steve, would you sail around the American continents in a proa?
Oh, absolutely.
You would?
No problem. No, I don't think so.
Wow.
It is crazy. So, as I said,
Hope he doesn't have to tack.
well, he's
It's like a 3-point turn, tacking in a proa.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. If you want to follow him and wish him luck, it's 2 Oceans, 1 Rock. Just Google that. Look it up on Facebook, 2 Oceans, 1 Rock. And yeah, he's off to head around and.
Well, he's obviously done something right, Jay. He's got your attention.
No, remember BP? We just called out. We try and promote everything, and I like.
Yeah, I know.
I like about this is it's something different, and I like stuff that's different. You know, like we can't just all sit there and do the same thing over and over again. I think our sport's got to be fun. And I love people that try the different things off. I think I'm happy to say it looks ridiculous, but more power to him. Prove me the idiot. You know, I mean, growing up sailing an Ormer, I kind of remember I grew up in New Guinea. Everything's Ormers up there, you know. So all the little sailing boats that the natives used to zoom around on were Ormers. So. So
yeah, the little Moana boats.
Yeah,
my daughter practically learned how to sail from watching Moana.
And Steve, is there an Ormer ice boat?
Well, they're all kind of like that, right? Because
I was going to say they're almost
but
they're all like catamarans, kind of.
Just chop one of your. I mean, could you be faster if you chopped one of your skates off? What do you call them?
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
Right.
I alluded to that earlier. Is it faster with two skates on the ground?
Well, in reality, when there's any breeze at all, the windward skate is really just kind of floating along anyway. It's hardly touching.
Well, all right.
Oh,
that was a dead question.
Best of luck to Finn anyway in his proa taking on the New York City to San Francisco.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Crazy.
With Cape Horn in
and he goes around the horn the wrong way.
Yep.
So it'll be
it
tough.
even gets worse.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, well, COVID's hit his income stream, I think. So he's just got nothing to do. So off he's gone. Good on him. That's what I reckon.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's us.
Yeah.
That's us.
Steve, thanks for joining us on Bar Karate, and it was blows my mind, and it continues to do so. And I'll be keeping a bit more of an eye on it for sure.
Me too. Me too. I think we should definitely follow that event that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Let's do that, Steve. If we could hook up with you for that, that'll be cool.
Yeah,
for sure.
Even if we did something from the event, I reckon that'll be cool too.
Right.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
In all honesty, if we're ever in town and it's cold and there's ice out, we would love. I'm 100% hands up for a go.
And thanks for the advice that it's not lycra and it is spandex, because I don't.
Have you got a coffin for a 5'10" bloke with a 7'8" head?
It's getting bigger. Well, the big thing's the helmet. I mean, because you can't carry your helmet on an airplane. It's got to be a custom helmet everywhere you go.
You know what I like about you two blokes?
Nothing.
No, yeah. So,
cue the music.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Steve. Awesome. I loved it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, happy to do it. No problem.
All right. Let's be in touch.
See you later, everyone. Thanks for joining us.